And so with that, that's it from me. We can pass over to our chair of the day. So Sana, it's now your time to be in the limelight, and I'll pass you on to further introduce our guest speaker. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, including our home viewers. Now, I will just start by saying, because I always forget, to please pop in any questions if you're online into our chat box. Otherwise, there will be Q&A at the end with Stephen. So Tim Conolan, AM, is the founder and CEO of TLC for Kids, a charity supporting children and their families in hospitals throughout Australia. He founded the organisation in 1998, which has since provided free, practical and emotional support to over 13 million families who are in need and who have otherwise fallen through the cracks. Tim was instrumental in developing TLC for Kids, which is a national distraction box program, which is used more than 1 million times a year to benefit children in 400 hospitals across Australia. These boxes include toys, items that may be used by healthcare professionals to guide children through frightening and painful procedures. And he also offers other services through TLC for Kids, which include Rapid TLC, the digital distraction app, and the TLC ambulance, giving children in palliative care a chance to visit a treasured destination with their families to create a lasting memory, which is absolutely beautiful. So Tim Conolan's official speech tonight will be on TLC for Kids, digital distraction app. And with that, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely introduction. Thank you very much. 3 mentions. I'm very lucky. And I do apologise for not being able to attend a lot of the meetings as well. So it's but thank you for the putting up with me and allowing me to be here tonight. I will be brief because I know we are a little bit stretched or short for time. So this will be an introduction to our services overall, and then I will talk about the digital distraction app, which is our latest service we provided. Brief history, in 1998, we actually set up the organisation out of a need that wasn't being met by other organisations and charities. I witnessed that a lot of kids were falling through the gaps. There was a lot of kids that weren't eligible for support from charities that were in the major hospitals. And I didn't understand why a child with one illness wasn't as worthy of support as another child. Through a lot of conversations with doctors, nurses, social workers, and our co-founder, Anna Darris, who was actually in the Public Affairs Office at the Children's Hospital, we found what was needed, which was a charity that would work with any child for any reason, not have a waiting list, and have a very short turnaround time for delivering that service. That's where we developed and launched our Rapid TLC program, in which healthcare professionals will literally be working with a child or the family. They will identify the need, not necessarily just say to them, what do you want us to get from TLC for Kids? It'll be through conversation. The family might say that we can't, while they're at hospital, the services are free, but to go home, they might need to buy some medication and they can't afford it. So that healthcare professional will put a request into us, and we'll facilitate whatever has to happen for the family. So in one case, it might be paying for the medical expenses, which can happen literally within minutes, the request coming through, or if it's something more complicated, it might take a couple of days to organise. The most important thing with our Rapid TLC service is it's actioned immediately so that the families know there's something happening, and then we fulfil it in the shortest possible time. The second service we developed and launched, so in 2003, we with consultation with educational play therapists, music therapists, occupational therapists, and distraction therapists in the hospitals, we developed the first formalised distraction therapy kit of its kind in the world, which brought in all those services and distraction therapies that were being used. But what we did by formalising it, we had the exact same items used in the same way in every ward or department that needed it. So the boxes are placed within emergency departments, oncology units, immunisation clinics, pathology units, assessment rooms or treatment rooms within the hospitals. They're not used in a waiting area for the kids in a doctor's surgery or in a hospital. It's only used as a medical tool for the healthcare professionals to work with the kids. The object of the distraction box is actually to empower the kids, because their world is completely out of control, but also helps alleviate the pain, the anxiety, the stress and the fear associated with a hospital visit. It helps the engagement with the healthcare professional and the child, so their memory is better. So if they have to go back to the hospital for any reason, they've got I suppose, if anything, a pleasurable memory of that engagement. At the moment, we've got our distraction boxes in 405 hospitals around Australia and 5 hospitals in New Zealand, and it's currently being used 1.1 million times per year. How we get to that figure, when the hospitals have to put a request in for either additional items or a new box or replacement items or replacement box that they're using, they fill out a short survey for us, which lets us know what items are being used the most, what items are being used the least, if there's any broken items, what type of illnesses they're using the boxes for, and how often they're using the box. So on average, each box is used 9 times per week, which equates to about 468 times per year per box. And at the moment, there's 2,664 distraction boxes being used. So we're very happy with it. Its reach is phenomenal. Even during COVID, the service didn't stop because it meets the infection control protocol of the hospitals, which we work very closely with the hospitals and the partnerships that we have, just to ensure that the items we're using can be cleaned and they have to be used multiple times. And during COVID, when they were trying to reduce the contact to contact between patients, especially patients and their family members and even staff, they could still use a distraction box because it met that infection control protocol. So we were absolutely thrilled that service didn't have to stop, along with our rapid service as well. The only service that took a hit during COVID was our ambulance, which we actually launched it at the end of 2019. We had 2 trips and then our COVID hit, and then we had to take it off the road because the families were scared of leaving their hospice or home. A lot of the locations where we were taking the ambulance also were shut. So it put a lot of limitations on it. The ambulance service itself is a partnership with Ambulance Victoria. So we have the qualified paramedics that actually drive the vehicle. So it's a medically safe transportation vehicle. The objective is to give children in palliative care the opportunity to have a trip to their most treasured destination, which could be visiting their grandparents, patting their family dog, going to the lake to have fish and chips, watching a sunset somewhere, or literally just going for a drive to the holiday home or the aquarium or the zoo. We have cameras inside the vehicle. We take cameras with us as well, and we film the whole day very tastefully, so it's not cameras in their face. But the idea is to actually give the family a break from the illness for a day. And Anna mentioned this on the day that we launched the program, which I don't think I'll ever forgive her for, because she said what we've done, we've been able to not just capture the time, but we're capturing these moments where this is the last time that family is a whole family, which is devastating to know, but it's also beautiful to know that we've been able to do that for these families that would otherwise miss out and not have those treasured moments. So it's probably one of our most sensitive programs. We've been working with kids in palliative care since day one, but then we've got an opportunity to actually take the kids out and enjoy that time together. With the trips, at the end of it, we give the families a photo book of some of the highlight photos, but we also give them a copy of the footage, all the photos, and we also name a star in memory of the child with a star chart. So it allows the families to look up and they've got a location in the sky to always remember their child. So pretty special, always gets me a little bit choked up, but absolutely love it. And the partnership with Ambulance Victoria is something that we treasure dearly. This brings me into the distraction app. So what we've done, the techniques and science and theories that we've used with our distraction boxes, with that distraction therapy that they use for the kids to guide them through procedures and that engagement, we've looked at how many ways we can put a digital version of that into the palms of the hands of parents or even the kids. So they've got instantaneous distraction, not having to go through a sign up or a login or the complications of opening different apps. It's actually something they can access immediately. And the idea is to provide, initially, we wanted to provide 30 seconds of distraction for the kids, which is about the same time it takes to put a cannula in a child's hand or give them a needle or do a very quick assessment. So our 30-second goal has actually turned out to be about 2.5 minutes of play for each engagement with the kids, which we're absolutely rapt about. For those of you playing at home, I think I've broken the computer. Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? You can see I'm a professional in tech. That's why we get people to do the work. I can talk about it, just don't touch anything. So it's been a great journey. We were looking at doing the digital version of the app in 2019, and then it was on very slow burn development stage. And then 2021, we engaged a really good developer, went through the whole process of what sort of games we can include, what'll be really easy and user-friendly for many ages of the kids. And then in March this year, we actually launched the app. This was also in consultation with a lot of the hospitals that we work with that have been using apps to distract kids while they're having any sort of procedure or examination. The biggest issue that the hospitals have at the moment, and this is hospitals everywhere, the apps that they're using have to be either accessed via one of the app stores. Potentially there might be a login issue, it might be a scoring thing, there might be pop-up ads that won't be appropriate for children to see, or they'll be asked to potentially do some sort of in-app purchase or take into another website that's got nothing to do with what the child has to do. The other complication is actually getting the kids set up for the play with the apps. One of the hospitals is actually using 28 apps at the moment to distract kids, depending on the severity and the service that they're providing for the kids. But that's a bit of a minefield for the hospital staff to know which app's going to be appropriate for which time, which age group, and how do we access it without going to something else. So I took all that into consideration, again, with consultation with the hospitals. And I do want to point this out too, for our services, we don't sit in the office thinking, well, I think this might be a good idea, so let's just run with it. Everything we've ever done is through consultation with the healthcare professionals to try and identify a gap or a need that's not being met by anyone else. We have no intention of duplicating services, wasting anybody's time or money, or making things more complicated. I'm not a fan of disruption. I was asked this in 2014, what our plans to disrupt the NFP sector. I would prefer to go down the path of collaboration, co-opetition. You work with each other, you identify a problem and you fix it. You don't try and knock somebody else out, because we're in a game of helping people, as we all know. And I think it's one of the most important things we can do is work together. And this is a great example of what can happen when working with a number of hospitals. We can create a device and a tool that can be used by anybody, anywhere. Joe, the next slide, please. We were very lucky and very fortunate to receive a grant from Victoria Health to help with the promotion and the initial part of the app to take it to the vaccination hubs. The hospitals and the vaccination hubs and the clinics were originally using our distraction boxes, which was causing a little bit of a logistic nightmare as well, because the hubs were quite sporadic in where they were being set up. So to make sure the boxes arrived in time, go through that bit of training with the staff, go through the process with them, make sure it was the right thing. And then after the hub closed, there was the issue of, well, where do you take the boxes after that and who picks them up? So potentially it was going to be a costly exercise, but also quite complicated for the staff who were being trained on how to give a needle. Speaking of needles, I've got a massive needle phobia. So I've chosen the perfect profession, being surrounded by needles and doctors. But I find when, I've got to man up and just have needles, because that's what you do. I never look. So I've always worked on something. I've got to distract myself with something. And that was a pretty big focus, especially for the app, because if we can give that distraction for kids, I can absolutely relate personally to have that 30 seconds of, well, I'm not having to worry about what's about to go into my arm. And then by the time you look over, it's finished. And that's where I want these kids to be, because I don't want them growing up to have the phobia that I've got. So in the arrangement that we had with Victorian Health, we created a really easy to follow poster with, again, QR codes. Thank you very much, COVID, for making QR codes cool again. You've always got to look at positive things, no matter what's happening in the world. So we developed this. So as soon as people either jump on a TLC4Kids.app, which I'll ask you, normally when you're presenting, you say phones away, but I encourage people actually to bring your phones out for a second, just so you can put this into your phones for later on. I do encourage everybody to jump on. So it's just TLC4Kids.app. That's the URL or the QR code. And what you'll find, and this was set up, which I really like. So we've got our mascots, which are Splidge and Splodge, which are little characters. Very brief history of the Splidge and Splodge. The blue one represents TLC4Kids, which is the all-encompassing support. and the yellow are all the kids and families that we support. So it's a really nice, it's a hug basically. So when people jump onto the app, the first thing you see is little, it'll ask you how you're feeling. And it was important for us to get the metrics of the app because there's no point doing something that you couldn't record its effectiveness. So it asks the user how you're feeling. So it might be sad, angry, confused, happy, tired. So we capture that through our analytics in the app. Then it has a very short animation, which goes for about 10 seconds or so, which is our little mascots interacting with each other. The idea behind that is to bring the world of the user into the phone for those few seconds. Once they're there, then you get to choose the games. So at the moment, we've got 7 games that we're utilizing inside the app. It helps with breathing exercises. Obviously, it lowers the stress and anxiety as well. Nothing's complicated. And we're about to, haven't shared this yet. We're about to launch another part of the app to allow for multi-language use for the user. One of the big problems, again, with the LGAs and the vaccination was vaccination hesitancy because people didn't understand what COVID was, what the importance was around the vaccinations, but just general health everywhere. So we're adding our multi-language option in a little help button that comes up into every game. So it doesn't matter who you are, you'll be able to work out, all you do is push some buttons and it can help you get through the gap. After they finish the play, and depends on what they're doing with the child as well. So it might be a memory game, it might be a find it game, or it might be just a colouring in game, or if it's a breathing exercise where they can actually help reduce the breathing patterns and the heart rate of the child while they're about to do the procedure, which also helps the breathing patterns and the heart rates of everybody in the same room. This is one of the core things that we've done with our distraction box, and it's really nice to be able to bring this into the app as well. Once they've finished the play, we ask them how they're feeling at the end. And we can actually measure a true indication if they're sad and then they've ended up being happy, the app actually has a positive impact on it. Or if it's the same, again, we're measuring those metrics. At no stage will they be asked to sign in or make a donation, or there's any big promotion about TLC for Kids at all. We ask them at the end if they want to leave some feedback about the games they've just played. They can be brutally honest, or they can make suggestions, if they can give it a rating, and they can leave that anonymously. We've done it in this way because we want to remove every barrier to play and barrier to service that we can. Most marketing companies will say, hang on, you've got a great audience here. Look, at the moment, there's it's been used, I think it's about 60,000 page views at the moment. The average is 2.5 minutes per user, and the average number of games that each user is using is 2 games. So they go through the how are you feeling, they'll go through the process of the little animation, then they'll interact with 2 games, and then they'll sign out. So it's a lot longer than we anticipated, but we also want to use this as it's an awareness tool for us. So not only are we helping kids, but it's putting us on the map. The thing that we are beyond happy with, going back to our ambulance and the partnership we've got with Ambulance Victoria, we're about to have the app on a decal, a little sticker inside every ambulance in Victoria, which means any kids that they pick up, the parents literally just hold up the phone and they've got play while the staff and the hospital paramedics, are dealing with a pretty stressed kid, which they were really happy with. It's a really nice tool for us, but the advantage we've got now is, I like that this is the world domination music. Have you got some background music there? With the development of the app, means that not only are we helping our kids in our backyard, not only helping kids all over Victoria, not only helping kids around Australia, but we can actually take this, and the plan within the next 6 to 12 months is to take this internationally into every country in the world. Goosebumps every time. Because it means we'll be able to help literally millions of kids every year, which is the essence of TLC for Kids. If that ends up that we're raising our awareness and people come on board and they want to support us and help more kids, absolute bonus. But for us to have a tool that we can actually, and be very controlled with the way the app is used as well. So it's a very, we're very sensitive about the information that goes out. So we want to make sure it's really friendly to the children and the user. But this expansion for us is something we could never have done in our entire history. So it's a bit of a game changer for us. And the projection at the moment, at least within 12 months, it'll be 1 million users a year on the app. I'm quietly but confidently sure it's going to be a hell of a lot more than that, because we're going to push this hard, because it's something that people need. And I was discussing this with a couple of boys before, that the issue that people have at the moment is mental health. It's a massive problem, not just adults, but it's kids as well. Anxiety, stress levels, fear, it's everywhere. A big concern is the delay that people have to get that sort of help. So phase 1 of the app was to take it to obviously the kids and these vaccination clinics and everything we're doing. Phase 2 for us is to actually incorporate more game development and have interaction. So it might be a meditation, mindfulness, additional breathing exercises, or a memory thing that's really focused on adults. So you can do it at your desk or anywhere you need to do it. But the idea is to try and improve the mental health of any of the users working with the app. So that's our digital distraction app, and we're going to take over the world. I hope I didn't go over time. I don't know, we're going to questions.
Tim, yeah,
Joseph?
we were talking before about mental health, and Tim advises about a 6-month wait. So anyone that wishes to get mental health at the moment, either online or via phone, is 6 months.
Yeah,
right?
and that in-person consultation for a severe.
That not only shocked me, but yourself as well. That's like terrible, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of first opening up the question, Tim, what organisations such as yourself and others that you would give advice to on how you can build that capability? So if we look at the common issue, 6 months, let's remove that. How do we get organisations like yourself and others to build that capability to remove that problem?
It's looking at a macro and micro version of the problem. We all know what it has to be. Look, that'd be mental health support for everybody when they need it. To get there, it's going to take resources, time, logistics, probably nightmare. And the realistic part of it, to physically get that support to everyone, probably not going to happen in our lifetime. Take it back to a micro level. So, well, what can you give someone today to get you through the next 5 minutes? Because sometimes when you're at that point where you are just, it's a critical time, you just need someone to say, look, it might not be okay, but we're here for you. So you're not alone. And it's removing the concept of I'm an island, I'm the only person going through this. So it's raising awareness. It's a lot of campaigns. Unfortunately, with the amount of charities that are out, there's a lot of white noise. There's a lot of confusion for people to know, well, where do I go? And there's some brilliant organisations literally saving lives as we speak every minute of the day. But sometimes if your head is so full of too much information, you don't know where to go to. So ideally, you'd have something that will give you that 5 minutes breathing space, then to think, okay, so now I can research this and I'll look at what's going to be the best support that I can get, maybe next week, maybe in a couple of months, but just have some sort of tool that you can have for today. And that's what I think is going to be
the basics.
The basics. Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Good question.
Yeah, no. We open it now to the amazing floor here on the Wednesday. Have we got questions, queries for Tim?
I'll go. So I actually pulled up the app while you were talking. The bubble one is actually really fun.
The tile one as well, Sap. The algorithm changes as well.
All of them are quite a lot of fun. But you were talking about obviously you brought up future capabilities. You were talking about partnerships with other charities. I guess the question is, what's next? Like, what's the bringing into the app? Because there's a lot. Like, you can expand this, as I can see, into a lot of different avenues. You can kind of break it down into anyone with, say, for example, autism, or because I've got a friend who's got a kid with autism, and it's, he would love something like this just in those moments, as you talked about, those 5 moments of mental health. What are some of those, I guess? And is there anything that Century Rotary could?
Yeah, that's spot on. And that's the exact reason why we did this. When we did our distraction boxes, we also did a sensory box version that we did a trial with Cabrini Hospital, which was almost a desensitized version of the distraction box and the items that we use. So no loud colors or movement. It was designed for kids on the spectrum with autism or ADHD. to help calm them down. Rather than using a medical intervention, they were using our toys and items. They actually used the box. One of the doctors was using one of our distraction boxes with an Alzheimer's patient who was 65 years old. And the treatment went like a dream because they got them to just calm down, relax, and be present with using the right tools at the right time. The bubbles, and it's funny you said that was the first one, because one of our marketing partners, he's actually he's worked with people on the spectrum as well, and they're using that as we speak, using the bubbles just to calm down and just be still. And it's not like, because we've all got digital overload with our phones, but the idea behind the app is, well, you're not going to be distracted by the things. You're just.
I'm curious to know, how do you actually get to the individual child who is so special that they need that day in the ambulance, for example? Question one, because there are so many out there that deserve it. Question two, how are you going to market this app?
Two very good questions. First question, with our relationships with our 405 hospitals, we also have a partnership with Palliative Care Australia. We're working closely with Monash Medical Centre, Royal Children's Hospital, and Very Special Kids at the moment. We've only got the one vehicle on the road, so we have to limit how many requests we could actually fulfill. We're in the process at the moment of actually building a second vehicle, and that's with a partnership with Essendon North Rotary. That was we actually got blindsided. They came up and said, "Oh, we want to help you build a second ambulance." So, bit of competition, but you know, healthy competition. And as we increase the number of ambulances on the road and our support team, then we can actually have more requests for the kids. We have the same process for the kids who go into the ambulance as we do our rapid TLC service. So the referral and the discussion is by the healthcare professionals. So they'll have that with the kids, because they also monitor, which this was 2 years of research and work. The hospital staff have to have the conversations with the families to know when the kids, sadly in palliative care, there's a bit of a spike towards the end of, in this case, a child's life. So they have to take, this is really hard to say, but they have to take advantage of when that child's got just enough energy to be able to sustain themselves for a day out. So it's kit and gloves that we're doing this, but by having the partnership with the staff, they actually let us know almost to the day, this is the best time to take the kids out. So it's a real science, but it works really well, and something that we make sure that the child and their family are in the best of care and in the best state that they could be to actually enjoy the day. So very good question though, but that's how we filter, I suppose, and manage the requests that come through. For the marketing of the app, this actually would just engage a marketing agency to help with that process. A lot of our users right now through the hospital, so we've got QR codes going onto all of our distraction boxes, which is exceptional reach for us, but we're having a very strong marketing campaign to work out how we can actually reach as many people as possible to raise the awareness through. We're looking at if we can get some stories on mainstream media, but a lot of the targeting marketing. So there will be expenses with it, and part of our pitch, I suppose, for the funding that we're asking for our distraction app is to actually put into the marketing so it can reach more people, as opposed to its funding for the service itself. So it's a bit of we haven't done it before. We've never gone to market to say, well, we need money for advertising, but the results will be phenomenal impact. So we think we've got a pretty good story to tell, and it won't be marketing for marketing's sake. It'll be very targeted. So good questions. Thank you.
What about, do you also get involved with the siblings, if you like, because often what you hear about is obviously the unfortunate and quite sad situation that you've described, but usually there's a brother or a sister or more who are impacted by what's happening. Do you get involved with that side of it as well? Every time.
So we've never done a request where it's just been just for the child. We've chosen this field of sick kids, but we've looked at this. The sick child is the catalyst for the support that we provide. So it might be something just for the parents, might be something just for the sibling. Even just a couple of weeks ago, we did a request for a school uniform for the sibling that the family ran out of money for both kids to have the uniform. So we actually paid for the sibling to get his school uniform so he could go to school and feel like every other kid. So, and like we do something for the sick child, but that was mainly focused on the sibling. So for us, it's always been, even though we call TLC for kids, it's just for families. So good question, though. And that was one of the reasons why we started TLC, because I didn't understand why there were conversations going on where they were literally, we overhear the kids say, gee, I wish I was sick so I could get the same attention. You never want someone to even think that. So we wanted to try and fix it. And we think we've done a pretty good job so far to make sure that the family are all involved. Very good question, though.
Sorry, this is a more business oriented question, but follows on from what
Hang on,
Robert
change
was
my
asking.
stance in.
Yes. So you mentioned that most of your partnerships are obviously with hospitals that's coming through. I guess the question is around for the corporate partnerships, who you associate yourself with, because part of that falls within the brand. Ask this because I now work for Medibank. So yeah, don't go there. But
Wait, I just got to turn off my phone.
look, I know. Look, Robin's buying me a really nice house, is all I'm saying. Okay. No, but the question is, like, I guess part of that is, and you mentioned going to market potentially for marketing, and pairing up with other brands will definitely help with, I know obviously McDonald's over November does their
McHappy Day.
McHappy Day and things like that. So how does that kind of fit in? I guess that was the question around the corporate and brand association.
Yeah, it's a continual battle for us, always looking for the right partnerships to help increase our reach. And predominantly we're looking for, look, Bankvic, for example, even ANZ, actually in 2019, they did a great campaign across Victoria to raise funds for us through a lot of the leadership teams. And they did the same thing again this year, and they actually increased their fundraising effort. But the idea behind those sort of partnerships is actually to increase our brand and increase our reach. So we're constantly looking for ethical businesses to help either fund some of our services or help promote it. And because the digital app now is something that it's a service that anybody can actually use. So you don't have to have a sick child. You don't have to have a child in palliative care. You don't have a child that's rushed to hospital to use a distraction box. This could be something that we could do anywhere. So we think it can relate to a lot more people. And by having the corporate buy-in, especially from the corporate sector, so we're not funded by the government. So and it's only been the last few years that we've actually picked up some financial sponsors that are helping us out ongoing, which is just, I can't even express how that feels to know that we've actually got some funding that we can budget each year. It's really weird. I know people do this all the time, but I'm still getting my head around it. But for us, we're literally in a position, and I use this term a lot, the number of kids we help is limited by the funding we receive. So if we have the right partners, we will be literally seeing millions of kids. So like Medibank. Was that what the offer was on?
Well, I could make an introduction or two, but yeah.
Well, and not wasting opportunity, but something we always look for is an opportunity to have an introduction and start a conversation. I've never had an expectation of anybody to say, I want you to introduce this person to you and go in there. So we'll pull out your checkbook. You start a conversation because it can spur something. You think, you know what, I know this person who's looking to get involved with either a charity or a project, whatever it is. But if you don't have the conversation, nothing ever happens. So hopefully we get on people's radars and think, well, you know what, let's have a chat to TLC for Kids and see what we can do. But the app opens a lot more doors for us. Thank you very much for today. This has been really nice. I've loved the opportunity. I hope I haven't chewed your ears off, but I always love a good chat about TLC.
Any
other questions?
Yeah. Well,
Thank
hold
you.
on one sec. I have something for you. This is from Our past president, Phil Endersby, courtesy of Wilderness Wear. Now, this is 200% Australian.
200, that's
Yes,
impressive.
200% Australian socks. So
Okay. Thank you very much. I'll
thank
wear
you
them
very
with
much,
pride.
Tim. So
Thank you.
round of applause.
Thank you.
Right, thanks, Tim. And now in closing the meeting, I'd like to thank our chair of the day, Sana, and other evening team members. A reminder that our monthly evening meetings will continue into the new year, skipping January, and our next meeting will be Wednesday, the 8th of February. So looking forward to that. Please diarize that and look out for in the bulletin on how to join. As President Adrian mentioned, next week's club meeting will be a festive lunch at Sofitel number 35. Please do join us, and bookings via Human Ticks are essential. Thank you again to everyone who has joined us this evening. Thank you to our guest speaker, Tim Conolan. I'll forever remember the cannoli reference. For sharing with us a great presentation, and congratulations, Tim, on your effort with sick kids.
Thank you.
Look, just want to say good night. Do stay safe. And with that, we now close the meeting. So thank you all, and look forward to seeing you in the evening meetings in 2023.